focus on having a healthier spine and happy hips. But mostly it's really about the spine, but of course everything is connected. There's an expression, and I've said it before, you're as old as your spine, but better than that, you are as young as your spine is flexible. And there's 5 major movements that our spine makes, and typically they're covered off in every yoga class. So right now I'm sitting in what would be called axial extension. And we've talked about this before. So you're actually reaching up through the crown of your head, sitting up nice and tall. Flexion is a forward fold. And when we forward fold at any point today, and I'll remind you, I want you to think about tilting your pelvis first. So if you were just to do that right now, if you're sitting and you tilt your pelvis first, then you start to fold, you'll automatically be folding from your hips. Rather than this, if we don't think about the pelvis and we just start to we get into that C form. And that's where there's uneven compression on your discs. So think about tilting your pelvis forward, whether you're sitting or standing, before we bend forward, which is called flexion. Extension is the opposite. So that's an extension. Rotation, of course, you know what that is. And then your sideways bending, lateral flexion. So as I said, in most yoga classes, you're going to move your spine in all of those directions. In a normal day, probably not. So hence, again, the value of doing yoga. But out of all those 5 movements, probably the one that makes us feel the best is the axial extension. So, you know, if you're sitting, you're actually reaching up through your spine because it unloads the compression in the lower back. So in terms of your vertebrae, you have 33 of them, 24 of them are mobile. And the biggest ones are the lumbar, and there's 5 of them. That takes the biggest load again, and that's where most people have problems, is in the lower back. So again, it's about trying to lift out of I talk about lifting out of your waist. That's just one of many cues that I could offer you. And you know, there are even chiropractors and osteopaths that feel that the health of your spine is going to affect the health of your organs, because the nerve endings and the fascia connect everything together. So again, keeping our spine healthy, and I will give you some tips on that today. And I think we're going to get ready to get started. Now, you know, just again, a reminder, the importance of warming up the body, whether you're playing tennis or doing yoga. So we always start with warm-ups, because getting more circulation into the area, as well as the lower back doesn't respond well to high velocity movement, to quick, it just doesn't. I mean, I know there are runners out there, but that pounding, it may work. Everybody's a little bit different. Everyone's got a bit of a different anatomy. However, we're going to practice with caution and care. So as always, anything I ask you to do, there is room up here at the front, Evelyn, if that's who come on, there's room here. Come on up. And, you know, if I ask you to do anything and your back says, I don't think so, please listen to your body. Okay? So come on over onto your backs. And we're just going to start with a simple twist, but draw your knees in towards your chest for a moment. And this is actually an extension for your spine. When you bring your knees in towards your chest, I mean, it's kind of an upside down child's pose, but just so you get familiar with the movements. And then extend your left leg straight down in front. Bring your right knee into your chest, and then place your left hand on the outside of your right knee and draw it across your body. So we're warming up the lower back, the spine. Don't take it any further. You know, feel some resistance, and then Obviously, you're going to feel this in your hips because we will be working on our hips today. But hold the outside top of your knee so that you can achieve some extra stretching and breathing to create the space, and exhaling to release the stress. However it got there, whatever it is, doesn't matter at this point. What does matter is that you have the power to release stress from your body, bring more calm, balance, centeredness, relief, if you will. And notice as you maintain the pressure with your hand that perhaps you are letting go. You know, yoga isn't any kind of a race where there's a finish line. There isn't a finish line. We just want to maintain the best health possible for as long as we can to enjoy our human birth. And then inhale, come back to center, and draw the right knee again in towards the chest. And then bring your left knee up and extend your right leg straight down in front. And with your opposite hand, your opposite right hand, on the outside of your left knee, draw it across the body over to the other side. So just take it to that point of resistance and notice what's going on in your hip or your butt, maybe your lower back. This should be a nice release for the lower back. Maybe you're feeling it more in the glutes. Just be aware of it and breathe into it. We're here to let go and release. Keep breathing into it. Notice if there's some release. Notice if there isn't. Maybe there'll be resistance. Maybe we resist things in life, and it's going to show up in our body when we resist, when we don't know how to let go of control. And those issues end up in our tissues, or they just make us a little bit less relaxed as we move through our day. And another full breath in and breath out. And come back into the center. And draw both knees into the chest. And then roll over onto your side. Come on over onto your hands and knees. And we're going to do our cat-cow. We're going to flex and we're going to extend. So we always begin with our cat pose. Make sure your hands are underneath your shoulders and the wrinkles in your wrists are in line, parallel to the edges of your mat, and your knees are comfortably underneath your hips. Fold over your mat or grab a cushion if you need to protect your knees. And then draw your shoulders away from your ears, maybe pressing your shoulder blades slightly together. On an exhale, let's round the spine, flexing. Pull the belly in, tuck the chin. And on an inhale, if you like, curl your toes under, hollow out your lower back and extend through the upper part of your spine as you bring your hearts forward, gently curving your cervical vertebra, eyes floating up to your third eye, Ajna Chakra. Exhale, flatten the tops of your feet, round your spine, warming up, getting circulation into the tendons, the ligaments. Inhale, hollow out your lower back. Draw your heart center forward. Feel your head moving away from your shoulders. Exhale, flatten the tops of your feet, rounding your spine. And inhale, curl your toes under, hollow out your lower back. Lifting, feel your shoulders relaxing away from your head. And last time, exhale into cat, flexing the spine. And inhale, curl your toes under. You can keep your feet flat too if it doesn't feel good, but it's a nice stretch for your toes and your plantar fascia. And then come back to neutral. Okay, so let's rotate the spine again, warming up. Inhale, sweep the left arm up. Maybe look up, exhale, thread the needle, bring that arm under the right, release your shoulder and the side of your face onto your mat. Tippy-toe your fingers straight out in front. And just kind of release here. So this twist, rotation, more for the upper part of the spine, the neck, the cervical vertebra, of which there are 7. The thoracic vertebra, there are 12. And as I said, the lumbar is 5. So out of the 33 vertebrae, 24 of them are mobile, and we are mobilizing them. So the ones that aren't mobile are, of course, the ones in the sacral area, lower part of your spine. And then draw the arm that's straight out in front, press up. Coming back into tabletop, inhale, sweep the right arm up, reaching up, exhale, thread the needle, reaching through as far as you can to maximize the rotation of your spinal column. Tippy-toe the fingers of the opposite arm out if it feels okay. Modify if it doesn't, if you have shoulder issues. And remember from last week, we were talking about breathing. 60 to 70% of it takes place in the back of your body, not the front, in the back of your body. So just become aware of that. If it's not moving, you're not breathing enough. And draw the arm in front, back under the shoulder. And then take your knees wide apart, unless you're going to do your puppy pose, because bending your knees a lot doesn't work for you. Take your knees wide apart, your big toes touch, flatten the tops of your feet carefully and slowly. Take your hips back towards your heels. And then releasing your torso between your thighs, your forehead, either on the mat or create some height by making a pillow with your forearms or stacking your fists, whatever feels best for you today. And again, notice the breath moving through the back of the body, the lungs filling up right to the bottom. And exhaling fully and completely. And then inhale, Drawing the knees under the hips unless they're already there. Curl your toes under, bring your hands back towards your feet, and just take a moment with soft knees, letting your upper body, your spine extend. Relax your neck, letting your head hang, allowing some blood flow, extra blood flow above the heart, and then be sure you're pressing into the soles of your feet, and then slowly roll up one vertebra at a time, letting your head be the last thing to come up, so that we stack one vertebra on top of the next. And remember, of course, your spine is like an S. Okay, so we're going to do some lateral side stretching and axial extension, and then forward bending before we move into half sun salutations. So once again, step your feet far enough apart that you feel that your ankles, your knees, your hips, so those bones in the front are aligned. So again, alignment equals good posture and a healthy spine. And lift your toes off the floor. Get used to feeling your big toe mount, your baby toe mount, and the center front of your heel pressing and rooting down into the earth. And then you can gently lie your toes down, lift your sternum away from your pelvic floor, and then pull your shoulders down, pull your armpits down. And I just want you to notice for a minute, when you actively pull your shoulders down, how many muscles are you working in your chest and perhaps your upper back that are generally in a contracted state? Can you feel? And you know what? Over time, we start getting our shoulders up around our ears. It's like we get hopeless, or we feel helpless, or we feel, I don't know, sad, all these different things. And the shoulders over time start to creep up towards our ears. So when you really try to actively pull your shoulders down, reach up through the crown of your head, you may actually feel your muscles working because they've been used to being in this contracted state. So we're extending those muscles. Okay, inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead, interlock your fingers, but release your pointer fingers to create like the steeple of a church. Okay, and then inhale, you're lifting out of your waist. This is axial extension, lifting up. This is the thing that really takes the pressure off of your lumbar spine. Inhaling in place, exhale, sideways to the right. Keep the length. Doesn't matter how far you go over, sideways, keep the length. Keep rooting down through those 3 points in your foot, and then inhale, come back up to center. Axial extension, reach up as high as you ever have. Exhale, sideways, other side. And then inhale up. Now, here's where I mentioned, I want you to tilt your pelvis forward. So tilt the pelvis backwards would be this, where you know, and we see this in people. I want you to tilt your pelvis just a little bit forward and then hinge forward. You can release your hands, keep stretching forward, lengthening, and then if your fingertips are not on the floor, bend your knees. If they are, fine. But make sure your fingertips are on the floor. And now inhale, come halfway up and place your hands on the fronts of your knees to extend your spine. Press your shoulders away from your ears. Exhale, forward fold, bend your knees here, drop your hips. Inhale, sweep the arms out to the side, reaching up and overhead. Hands in prayer. Exhale. Hands to your heart center. And then release your hands down. Once again, I want you to, let's bring the shoulders up to the ears. Exhale and roll them back, and then bring them down by your side. Pull your armpits down. And maybe you're feeling a little bit more space in those chest and upper back models. How's the heat in the room? We good? Okay, you're my canaries down here, so let me know if you go like this. I know that you're hot. You're good? Or it's too hot? Too warm. Okay, getting warm. All righty, 1 second. Okay, so we'll begin with, can't read your lips, Liz. Okay, so half sun salutations. Keep all these things in mind. Your feet are going to stay stationary. You're not moving. Inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Turn the palms out. Lift out of your waist. Now remember, tilt your pelvis slightly forward and then hinge. And bring your fingertips to the floor. Legs can be straight or knees are bent. And then inhale, come halfway up, lengthen your spine. Exhale, forward fold, bend your knees, inhale, sweep the arms out to the side, reaching up. Exhale, hands to prayer. Okay, now we're getting right into it. Inhale, exhale, you're going to bend your knees. So you'll notice as you bend your knees, your pelvis starts to tilt forward, and you can lengthen your back. Bring your fingertips to the floor. On an inhale, lift your hips up. Lift your hips up. Let the crown of your head float down. Relax your neck, your cervical vertebra. Let it go. Exhale. Bend your knees. Drop your hips. Sweep your arms out to the side, circling them up and overhead. Exhale, float the arms down, taking up lots of space. Inhale, turn the palms out. Exhale, notice your pelvis tilting forward as you fold, fingertips tenting on the floor. Inhale, lift your hips, let the crown of your head float down. Give your head a little bit of a swing. Get used to what it feels like to just let your head hang and stretch out those cervical vertebrae. Exhale, bend your knees, drop your hips. Now your belly should be on your thighs. Lengthen your spine, push your shoulders away from your ears. Inhale, sweep the arms out to the side, circling up and overhead. Exhale, turn the palms out, float your arms down. Again, inhale, turn the palms out, exhale, feel the power of your thighs. Even though we're not focusing on them, everything's working. Exhale, lift your hips, try to keep your belly glued to your thighs. The reason I ask you to do this is so that you think about your spine lengthening as opposed to rounding. Let your head hang, exhale. Bend your knees, drop your hips, shoulders back, lengthen spine. Inhale, sweep the arms out to the side and up. Exhale, turn the palms down. Last time. Inhale, turn the palms out. Exhale, bend the knees, drop your hips as much as you can. Fingertips tented. Inhale, lift your hips. Let your head hang. Exhale. Drop your hips, bend your knees, shoulders back, lengthen spine. Inhale, sweep the arms out to the side, reaching up. Exhale, and float your arms down. Okay, and just while I explain something to you about Trikonasana next, and have a look, because a lot of people think the idea in Trikonasana is, I got to touch the floor. No, you don't. If you want to take your block at this point as well, because we're going to do this, and then we're going to move into Parsvottanasana, just for spinal extension. So this is all about extension. But if you want to gently rest your hands on the block, you can put that next to your ankle. So, starting near the front of your mat, and of course, everybody has stickies on their socks if they have socks on. Okay, step your right leg back 1 leg length. Legs are going to be straight. Make sure you have a straight line between the heel of your front foot through the arch of your back foot, and your back foot slightly pointing forward. So you're going to keep your legs straight. Sweep the arms up to shoulder height. Now, you're going to lift up out of your waist again, and then reach forward. Reach forward. So you're extending your spine, and then exhale. Just float that front arm down to wherever it lands. You can place your hand on your inside of your thigh. You can place your fingertips on your block, but don't rest on it. Reach your top arm up. Lovely. Beautiful. So the idea, keep your front leg straight. Don't lock your knee. Do you want your top shoulder, if you were leaning or between two panes of glass, your top shoulder would be directly above your bottom shoulder. If you're overreaching in this position, you're actually twisting your lower back, not helpful. Or perhaps letting your ego decide that I need to do this. Stretching up and come back into warrior 2. So bend your front knee, lifting up in your sternum. Release your forearm onto your front thigh. Take that back arm down, around, over your ear, and imagine a line of energy from the outside of your back foot right through your fingertips. So you're reaching that top arm over your ear. And if I were to come around and say, press into my hand with your top fingers, they should be active. Make sure, visualize that your front knee is tracking over your middle toes and that your back foot, you're pressing into the outside of that back foot. And then inhale, come on up. You can move your block to the other side, but before we get there, standing sideways on your mat with your legs about one leg length apart, bring your arms up to shoulder height, be a 5-pointed star, and then again, think about tilting your pelvis and then bend, then hinge. And we're just going halfway over. So flatten your spine, lengthen your spine. Your fingertips are tented on the floor below your face. Inhale, sweep the left arm up, reaching up and stretching up. And exhale, float that arm down. And inhale, sweep the other arm up. Exhale, float it down. And then pivot on your left foot first. Yeah, that'll be your back foot. And then pivot on the right foot. Have a look while you're bent over that the heel of your front foot is creating a straight line through the arch of your back foot. You can place your hands on your front right thigh to press up. Okay, so we're up now. And are you doing the other side, Lovey? Okay, so you should have your right foot forward and your left leg back, and you've got a straight line through the heel of the front foot, and your front leg stays straight. Inhale, sweep the arms up to shoulder height. Now lift up out of your waist, lengthen, reach forward. Can't reach any further, keep that front leg straight if you can. Keep reaching forward. Then when you can't reach any further forward, please don't reach down. Just let that front arm fall inside of your front leg and reach your top arm up. Don't overreach to place that hand on the floor. Often we lose the alignment and the integrity of the pose. You should be able to visualize that your top shoulder is directly above the bottom shoulder. If you're overreaching, that top shoulder ends up coming forward and you're torquing your lower back. So reach up with your top arm, reach and stretch up. We're extending our spines. One more breath in to reach up. And then bring your arms up into warrior two. So bend your front knee. Here's where you want to look that your front knee is tracking over your middle toes, and your anchor will be your back leg. So be sure you're pressing into the outside of your back foot. And don't let your body try to lean forward in this posture. There is a tendency in warrior two when the front knee bends, let's get the torso involved. No. You've got a plumb line going right through the center of your head, down through the center of your body. Okay, now your torso will come forward when you bring your front forearm onto your front thigh, take your back arm down, around, in front, and then over top of your ear to blossom your heart center, your chest, to the side of your mat. Reaching and stretching and breathing. So this is a beautiful stretch for the intercostal muscles, the muscles between the rib cage. One more breath in to reach and stretch. Exhaling, and then inhale, come back to your five-pointed star, sideways on your mat, your feet are slightly turned out. Exhale, halfway with your spine. Tense your fingers once again on the mat in front of and below your face. Inhale, sweep the right arm up, reach up, stretch up, maybe look up, or you can keep your eyes closed. Exhale, float the arms down. When we keep our eyes closed, if it's safe, you can really go inwards and check out. Sweep the other arm up, reaching up, stretching up. Exhale, float that arm down. Walk your feet in towards one another, and you're going to come down onto your mats now, onto your backs, and take a moment in Shavasana. Please take a sip of water if you have some and you feel inclined. Turn your palms up in the open and receiving position. Allow the benefits of what you have just done to be absorbed. And I'm going to talk to you while you're laying down about 6 tips for rehydrating your spinal discs. So I think most of you know that between each vertebra is a spongy or gelatinous substance called the disc, your spinal discs. And of course, each vertebra functions optimally when your discs are hydrated. A degenerative disc, and some of you may know what this is like, unfortunately can lead to reduced or impaired movement, pain, nerve damage. Now, things wear out in our bodies. Stress wears a lot of things out. Aging, poor posture. These are probably the things that create the most damage, making the disc thinner. But good habits slow down the aging process. We can't stop it, but we can slow it down. And of course, yoga is really about helping us create some of those good habits. So the first tip for keeping your spinal discs hydrated, drink half your body weight in ounces of water. So if you were to weigh 150 pounds, that would be 75 ounces of water a day. I know we get some of it through our fruit and vegetables. And 75 ounces would be about 9 cups, 9 8-ounce cups of water a day. If we're dehydrated, our body will actually pull water out of our discs wherever it can get it. So it's like robbing Paul to pay Peter, or robbing Peter to pay Paul, however that expression goes. But seriously, Stay hydrated. Alignment, we know that. Exercise is an absolute must because your discs are not muscles, but when we exercise, we increase circulation, which strengthens the muscles, like they've got more to work with, the oxygen, the fluids, the nutrients. Also, exercise activates the ligaments and the tendons. All of it combined help take pressure off of your discs. Sleep, it's super important. Even just lying down, if you're not able to sleep, your discs start to plump up again. Therefore, we're typically taller in the morning than we are in the evening. Alcohol, caffeine, cigarette smoking, these are all dehydrating, if not a diuretic. And of course, excess weight will also put more pressure onto our discs. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of hip work now. Bring your knees in towards your chest, but take your knees just outside of your rib cage, and that's where they're going to stay here for happy baby. Just do a little bit of flexing in the hip area. Bring your hands inside of your legs. Try to take hold of your insteps. If you can't get your insteps, grab your ankles, and then holding on, let's bring the ankles directly over the knees. So the knees are just grazing the outside of your rib cage. Stretching the inner thighs, the hamstrings, relaxing the quadriceps, which we just worked. Okay, and release that. Keep your knees bent and place the soles of your feet flat on the floor. Hip width apart. Let's place the right ankle on top of the left knee. Right ankle on left knee. Take your right hand between your legs, left hand outside, and draw your left knee towards you, interlocking your fingers behind your left thigh. Now, that may be enough for you, enough resistance in the hip area. If you can, if it's available, without lifting your shoulders off the floor, you could bring your hands around to the front of your left knee and interlock your fingers. If this is putting a lot of tension or drawing your shoulders and head off the floor, unless you have a cushion or something to put under your head, bring your hands back around behind the back of your knee. And some of us are born with longer arms. I remember meeting a woman who, she was much shorter than me, but she had much longer arms than me. So everybody's put together a little bit differently. And you might want to even do a little bit of rocking from side to side here. Just keeping the lower back alive and awake and energized, but pulling your left knee towards you to stretch and release tension from the hips. If the hips are tight, it will affect the lower back and vice versa. So breathe into the place where you're feeling the most tightness. And notice whether or not there's any relief in terms of tightness and tension in that area. You might even imagine this area becoming more flexible, looser. And you know, when you're sitting in a chair, you could consider, rather than crossing your legs, depending on where you are and what you're wearing, of course, placing one ankle on top of the knee. This will also be like a chair pigeon pose, or pigeon pose in a chair. Okay, let's cross that top knee over the other so that one knee is directly on top of the other. Take your arms out to the side and let's drop both knees over to the left. And perhaps turn your head to the right. You may be feeling a nice stretch through the front of your shoulder, chest. These are your pectoral muscles, minor and major. Again, these often aren't being stretched. They're in constant contraction. So now we're extending them. And inhale, come back to center. Uncross that top leg. Center yourself on your mat if you've become uncentered. And then draw and place your left ankle on top of your right knee. You might want to press that left knee away from you with your left hand. And then take your left hand inside your legs, bring your right knee towards you, and just start with interlocking your fingers behind your right thigh. One side might be different than the other, normal. Breathing into your left hip and thigh. And if it's appropriate for you to bring your fingers around the front of your knee, don't let your ego push you and say, I gotta do this, I gotta do more. No, you don't. Think of your body as an instrument. You don't want it too tight, you don't want it too loose. You want just the right amount of tension. Breathing into the hip, the thigh. Maybe your IT band is that band that reaches from the hip to the outside of your knee. And you might want to do a little rocking from side to side. Or just hold the position, focusing on keeping your shoulders as broad as you can. Your shoulder blades absolutely should be on your mat. Noticing what's holding and what's letting go. Bringing your caring awareness to any of the stress or tension, i.e. tightness. And tightness is a type of stress in the body, restricting movement, maybe causing pain, definitely not allowing for a free flow of energy through the body. And then cross that top knee over the bottom one. Take your arms out to the side and lower both knees over to your right side. And perhaps turn your head to the left. And release, coming back to center. One hand on each knee, and let's just do a little rocking from side to side, or perhaps Make some big circles on your lower back. And place your feet on the floor, roll over onto your side, come onto your bellies. And we'll practice a little bit more extension for the spine. We'll start in Sphinx pose. Bring your elbows directly under your shoulders and your forearms are straight out in front, and your palms and wrists, of course, extending straight out in front. So with your elbows directly under your shoulders, press your shoulders once again away from your ears. Let your cervical vertebra curve just gently and reach through the crown of your head. Press your shoulders away from your ears. Reach the crown of your head forward and upwards. Extending your spine. So again, this is the opposite of the way we would normally be sitting or standing. And then if it feels okay for you to do so, with your fingers spread wide apart, your middle finger pointing forward, try to straighten your arms. If it doesn't feel okay, come back into Sphinx pose. Lower your shoulder or your elbows back down onto the floor. Please now let your head hang between your arms and just swing your head in the yes and the no. And maybe just let your head hang for a moment. Pressing your shoulders again away from your ears. Those shoulders love to come up towards your ears. Notice that. Push them back. Inhale. Bring the head back up. Exhale. Release your forehead onto the mat. Bring your arms beside your body with your palms facing up. Have your legs together. Keep the tops of your feet flat with your toes pointing backwards. Roll an invisible alley with your nose. And then inhale, lift your head, neck, shoulders and chest off the floor, and then your arms. Your legs can stay on the floor. So here's where we strengthen the muscles that support your spine. There are 4 layers of them, all the ligaments, all the tendons. You are working against gravity, so your heart has to work a little bit harder, infusing all of those muscles with extra fresh oxygenated blood. One more breath in and lift. Exhale. You can turn your head to either side, or you can keep your head in the center, and then let your shoulders melt, big toes touch, heels splay out. And gather your energy here. Breathing deeply, noticing again the breath moving into the back body, the back and the sides. Couple more deep breaths. Be mindful of letting your exhalation be twice as long, or at least a little bit longer than your inhalation. This brings incredible calm, centering, balancing, and healing to your body because it activates your parasympathetic nervous system. That expression of waiting for the other shoe to drop, typically we're holding our breath. So breathing in is more autonomic. then breathing out. And then bring your head to the center if it wasn't already. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders and press up. Come into a seated position. And we will practice 2 more seated postures. Navasana, boat pose. Now, if you have any back issues or any, if you've got a herniated disc, which I don't think anybody in this class does, because you probably wouldn't be here if you did, or you'd be crying for mercy right about now. All right, so in Navasana, couple things here. You want to keep your back nice and straight. And how you're going to do that is keep your chest lifted and engage your core abdominal muscles. Okay, so place your hands underneath the backs of your knees and let's just find that sweet spot. And you know what, if you don't go any further than keeping your spine straight, your chest, your sternum lifted, your shoulders away from your ears and back, this is fine. This is extending your spine, really working it. I mean, we've done this posture before to strengthen our core, our abs. So the gaze should be lifted up. And let's come back onto our backs and gently rock from side to side. And I just heard a big exhale, so I'm wondering if somebody might have been holding their breath while they were doing that. I get it. Okay, let's try it again. If you're okay with rolling up on your spine, if not, you're going to roll over onto your side, but placing your hands underneath the backs of your thighs, shoulders back, chest lifted. Think about your spine being nice and long here. Find the sweet spot where you can hold on. If you want, you can straighten your legs. I'm not going to ask you to put your hands out to the side. It's not what this is about right now. You can keep your hands underneath your legs. You can keep your knees bent. What is important is I want you to keep your spine long. Nice. Your neck should be part of your spine here. Breathing. Feel your core activated to protect and help keep your spine long. That will do. Lovely. Come on over onto your backs. Once again, rocking from side to side, holding on to one of your knees. In fact, let's place the feet on the floor, perhaps at the edges of your mat. Take your arms out to the side, shoulder height. You might want to tuck your shoulders underneath your heart center, tilt your chin towards the center of your chest to lengthen your spine. Inhale in place, exhale, drop both knees over to the left, and turn your head to the right. And inhale, knees and head to center. Exhale, both knees to the right, head to the left. Inhale, let's do each side one more time. Exhale, knees to left, head to right. Inhaling, knees to center. Exhaling, knees to right, head to left. And inhale, come back to center. And let's roll over onto our sides, pressing up. One last posture, Marichyasana. So in this case, we're not going to cross the leg over. We're going to bend. I'll try and do the opposite. So bend your left leg and keep the knee, the foot inside of the knee as opposed to outside. And then interlock your fingers. Here's where I want you to really feel your sits bones, okay? Like feel that you're really sitting on top. Press your shoulders down, reach up through the crown of your head, and then placing your right arm around your leg and your left arm straight behind you. And then inhale, lifting up through the crown. On an exhale, maybe you can twist just a little bit more. Keep the length in your spine. Flex the foot of the straight leg. Every time you breathe in, consider lengthening, even if it's just a thought. And on your exhale, and it might just be a thought of twisting a little bit more. Inhale, reaching up through the crown. Exhale, release, and counter twist to the other side. Keep the length in your spine. Exhale, come back to center and straighten the bent leg. Maybe bang out the back of the knee and bring the other knee into your chest. Interlock your fingers. Make sure you're really sitting on top of your sits bones. Flex the foot of the straight leg. Inhale, bring your, let's see, I gotta think about this. Your left arm around your leg and your right arm behind you. And inhale to lengthen. Exhale to twist. Flex the foot of your straight leg, tech guy, so your toes are pointing up towards the sky. Yeah. Inhale, reaching up through the crown. Exhale, maybe just a thought to twist a little more. And one more breath in to reach up. Exhale, release and counter twist to the other side. And now, if you wish to take a sip of drink or put anything on, or if you didn't get an iPad, if you have something to cover your eyes, bring yourself into Shavasana. Pretty much everybody's favorite pose except for Jane. Jane's at home practicing. Right, Jane? But you know what, Jane and everybody? This is one of the most important yoga postures. So once you're flat out and relaxing, please turn your palms up in the open and receiving position. Close your eyes. Allow the skin of your eyelids to become smooth and your eyeballs to sink into their sockets. Please separate the biting surfaces of the teeth. We hold a lot of tension in our jaws. It's not serving us, not helping. And allow your bodies to be soft and heavy. Something we could aspire to is to never regret a day in our life. Good days give happiness. Bad days offer experience. Worst days are opportunities to learn a lesson. And our best days are what give us great memories. And as Rumi, the Sufi poet, said, if you want to feel more alive, love is the truest health. In Shavasana, we absorb and integrate the benefits of what we've just done for an hour. We activate the parasympathetic nervous system to reset and balance and harmonize our bodies and our minds. A lot of things that our bodies do, we take for granted. It's hard to think about all of those things that just happen for us when we want it. And sometimes it takes injury or illness to be reminded that perhaps we have taken things for granted or slackened off and disrespected our bodies and our health. Creating good habits, posture, diet, and lifestyle will serve us in a myriad of ways. Inhaling the life force long, full, and deep, filling your lungs, that presses on your diaphragm, that pushes your belly up, and then exhale, letting go of carbon dioxide and other wastes. Again, inhaling, filling your lungs. Exhale to empty your lungs. And again, breathing deep right into the bottom of your lungs. This is where the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide takes place, not at the top of your lungs, at the bottom. And let it all go. Inhale, stretch your arms over behind your heads, reach and stretch, point feet far, flex and point, and drop your arms down by your side. Keeping your eyes closed, roll over onto your side, bend your knees, use your bottom arm as a pillow. Just spend a moment. Acknowledge yourself for showing up on a rainy day for a yoga class or practicing at home. Instead of thinking, I'm not going to bother, you've made the effort, acknowledge yourself. And then when you're ready, use your top arm to press yourself back up into a seated position. And once again, if you're wanting to join me in chanting the seed bija mantra, Om, fill your lungs with air, inhaling. Om Shanti, Namaste. Have a beautiful day. Salutations, prostrations,